I've had students comment from time to time about readings that were written before they were born, um, and I understand that it's we do like to look at current practice and prepare you to get out and lead in the modern business environment. But there are some articles that just states things so well, so clearly, and also have very kind of straightforward application that I find useful. And until I find something better, I'm gonna stick with them. So in this module, we actually have two readings that were published before I was born, which is the Carnegie reading, which over and over again students tell me is one of their favorite readings in the course because of its, the ease of access of it, and the Rogers and Roethlisberger reading, which is a new reading. I just found it recently in looking through the Harvard Business Review. This was republished in 1991, but is a paper from the 50s, and it has an archaic style, but a certain archaic charm. I hope you'll find an archaic charm about it. It has a very simple message. Communication is enhanced by listening. And they deliver that message by commenting that it's something that's very simple to say. People readily agree to it and then don't do it. It just seems that people find it hard to do. People find it hard to do, as they point out. One of the reasons is ego, because if we listen to people, we might just be persuaded by them, and sometimes we're not open to that. But I think what they do make a very good point is that effective leaders are open to it, and they explain clearly why leaders listen first and talk second. It's a message out of the very well known Utah Stephen Covey. If you hope to be heard, listen first. And this has much the same message, but I think has some good kind of enhancements on it that are useful for us spending time with. One of the things I would point out is that while they don't discuss this, I think one of the implications as you go through this is really thinking about the digital tools we use to communicate. And in fact, they're tell tools. They do not enable listening. They actually kind of presume listening is irrelevant. And I think it's worth considering, how those tools get used. Certainly, they're extremely valuable. I use them in the course, and I use them in the course to tell you what's due next week and convey materials to you. But those are not listening tools, and there are definitely occasions and venues where we do want to tell. But I think that a lot of effective leadership is, and they have this great line in there that I hope you kind of pull out. It's something like that leadership values the relationship over the efficiency, and that's what the listening is very much about. So this notion of it's simple to say, hard to do is fundamental to the article, and it's something that we 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 want to learn how to do it. And at this very moment, my computer is going to be funky. Okay, so what I'd like you to look for is I'd like you to look at, what are the practices of listening? What are they discussing? And and they're also, what are some of the advantages? And as we've talked about in the social information processing model, one of the big challenges we have is expectation biases of getting information through those biases. One of the advantages of listening is we'll understand people's perspective enough to effectively communicate on our side. And do read the commentary on the article. It provides a lot of good kind of modernization. It has a couple of critiques in it as well that are worth knowing about. What I'd like you to really also think about, and this is kind of beyond the article, is what is the leadership twist here? And the leadership twist for me, and I'd like you to think about it as, again as you go through this, is the leadership twist here is that leaders own communication. They don't leave communication to happenstance. And again, leaders are going to use digital methods on this kind of one-way communication. But when we're really trying to communicate, which is a little bit different than transfer information in the context of this article, and I think we should think about it as different than transmitting information. We want to communicate. We want to understand people. We want them to understand us. And I think the core message for me that's in this article is, as a leader, you need to own that. I think this is also reinforced in the Kuznets and Posner, but it's stated, it's actually not as explicitly stated here as I would like it to be, but I think that assumption is here, and I'd like you to think a little bit about that in doing this reading.